It's a vibe with five, and you already know this.
It's funny because I never... Do you look back at your career sometimes, like games or something?
No, I don't remember a lot.
But that's what I mean. You don't remember because our brain only keeps 16% of what happens in terms of the career. Yeah. But if you would go now and look back at one season and explore it, you'll see how the memories come back.
Yeah. My son got a video on YouTube, and it was the first time he said, "Dad, I didn't know you played like that."
Wow.
Was it the one where the ball came and you did the mad touch?
Yeah, it's like a
compilation.
It's a compilation video.
Okay.
And
Right.
he said, Dad, I didn't know. Like he said, like whoa, and he played. He said, "Watch, Dad, just watch it." And I watched it, and then, like you say, all the memories start coming back.
Coming back,
go,
yeah.
Actually, I was all right.
Yeah.
You start thinking, or like, actually, I'm making mistakes that I'm telling people they shouldn't make mistakes. Sometimes,
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes.
So it makes you realise as well. Nothing's perfect as well.
No, but I think obviously we lose perspective. Huh? But I think if you were going to sit with someone that you care, like if you sit down with your son and you go through, it's incredible the things that they will pop up in your head.
Definitely. Mad.
Do you see? It's probably a question for the interview, but when you see a pundit, Rio's now a pundit. Are you paying attention to like what they're saying, and do you think they're like overcritical, or do you reckon? Do you see the game the way they see the game? How do you feel the majority of the time?
Yeah, no. I think if you see someone like Rio, you listen. You want to listen to what you got to say, because there's always something that it connects to an experience that you had as a player. When you talk about an aspect defending the box, it'll be more how you would do it, and I'm always intrigued on those aspects. But I like to work in media as well to understand how the journalists feel, and you understand that in media sometimes you cannot be probably open and as honest as you would.
We call it mates FC.
We worked
Yes.
together in the World Cup.
In South Africa,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So
But
interesting.
I always love when as a player that you see the game the wrong way, and then you need to look at it from a more wider perspective and think about the others, and that takes time. Takes a lot of time, because sometimes you think, wow, when I was a player, I wasn't aware that he had to press that way, or there are aspects that you just come to terms when you become.
That's another, because I love seeing the managers and talking to them. Right? But and there was in my generation, but now you've transitioned to this generation, so so that's a unique aspect as well.
Yeah.
But there seems to me, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's so much more detail now.
Yeah, of course.
For the players, than that. In my time, there was never we're going to be this. Well, I think it happened, but we never spoke about it. Like there'd be one formation in possession, one formation out. We never spoke about it, but now it's so clear.
Yeah.
Or there needs to be 3 or 4 options every time someone has the ball, and it's really defined, and they work on it, and that's the first option inside there. Then the second one's there. Whereas we was like, get the ball to whoever, like work out where you go next.
Yeah. So
is it like that?
Yeah, totally. But I think it comes with. Remember the Premier League now, the investment that you go into the development. Now you got under 18s that they work with analysis of the opposition. Then you go into, those are our concepts on the ball, and then you go in detail. So these players, when they get into the first team, they need that level of of detail. Like a player will come to you and said, so if they press us on the right, what's our option? So it's already that the environment is creating now players. Yeah. Before it was a little bit, when we started, they said, okay, we're going to play from the back. Yeah, but how do you play from the back? Now you don't get that question. In a first team level, in dressing room, you don't get that. It's how you play from the back. You do that 14, 15, 16. Is everything is evolved, you know? The whole environment has changed.
Are you giving players the XGs and stuff like that as well?
There is sometimes.
Do you read into it a lot, or do you?
Yeah, we had a game. It's funny. We had a game against Slovakia. We finished 3-2. We won 3-2. Our XG was 7. Now I've never seen a 7 in my career.
Yeah.
As a coach.
Yeah.
7 is like
off the charts.
Yeah.
7 is like minimum 7 goals.
Yeah.
So the measurement of XG is, and we analyze it. We talk. Say why. Why an XG of 7 is 3 goals. It's something that we can do as a team, no? And I think that stats are always in context. You never follow a stat just as a routine. Oh, we're gonna follow possession. because 600 passes against a team that they drop back means nothing. That 600 passes against a team that they press you high up. So you need to give the context of the stat. Now, an XG of 7 it's got a lot of meaning. And things that they got a lot of meaning, like sometimes you get the stats, the physical stats of a player, and a player didn't sprint in the whole game. That happened.
Yeah.
Even though you couldn't really imagine that a player would go through 90 minutes without sprinting.
Yeah.
But that happens.
But then when you see that, don't you think that kills the game a little bit? So what Rio uploaded on his social media the other day was a clip of Raquelme.
Right.
And I just remember thinking, what a player. But when I look at some of the aspects of the game that he had then, I don't think he could get away with like not tracking back or whatever it is that he might be allowed to do.
Yeah, that's luxury players, isn't it? There were players back in the day where you go like, because he's so good, the other 10 will just defend for him, and then when we get it, he's the guy we go to. But you can't. They don't really see those players now, or they're dying out of our game a little bit.
Again, I think they are not allowed in the academies. I think that's always where does the player comes from. And in Brazil, we got this incredible quality because they play on the beach with no footwear and they develop this skill and the route and the roads and then you look at it. We are creating more and more players box to box. We don't develop players in the boxes. You don't help a centre half to use the contact and the body
Speaking
to
my language,
defend.
man. Jesus, Roberto, man. But could be a regular on there now.
but that's it. We need to understand that what we're creating now is we're taking the individualism of each player. Now, very rarely a coach in the development phase you will hear, use your quality in the 1v1. Very rarely. What you will hear is like, play simple. Play 2 touches, and that's why now when the players arrive in their first team career, they are asked to work off the ball. They've got certain aspects that to become a professional you have to learn, but that doesn't take the individualism is every player is different, and you have to the real attribute is to get the best or all the uniqueness of each player and make a balanced team. That's it, the key. If everyone could do everything, you're going to become an average player. But that's a different debate. Yeah,
I think that's a good segue into you talk about creating a team there. Now you was at the helm, the manager of the golden generation of the Belgian team, a generation that everybody was looking at, and I was one of them going, they have to win something. You look at Hazard, Company, Kevin de Bruyne, Lukaku, to name just a few of them. How was that for you, leaving club management and then going to that?
Well, obviously, I was at that point. It was 7 consecutive seasons in the Premier League, and then probably that would be the. I never expected to become an international manager. I always wanted to be involved in a World Cup. I always felt that being football, it's almost the end dream is to be in a World Cup.
When you're 60,
or younger. I remember playing in the street in Balaguer, in my hometown, and it was at that time it was the Argentina '78. I remember those briefly those images, and then '82 was the World Cup in Spain, and those are the moments that you remember. But it's going to Belgium was probably why I couldn't turn that job down, because it was that golden generation, which at the beginning it was a bit of a unfair title, because they were not the golden generation. The golden generation was the generation '86. It was the
Schifo.
Yeah, Schifo and Killemans, and they were the ones that Prudhomme. They were the ones that they were 4th in the World Cup, and that added a lot of pressure. A little bit unfair, I would say, but they were a generation that they were from Belgium, but they all left. And they all had different journeys, going to the best dressing rooms in European football, and then came back with an incredible feeling of wanting to do something special for their country. And then managing that gave us the 2018. We had 6 wins. The performance in 2018 was
number 1 in the world, number 1 ranked team.
Yes, 4 years, number 1. That was after the World Cup. And the commitment of the players was total. And at that point, after 2018, they were the golden generation. At that point, it was a fair way of describing the generation, but it was a fascinating to be a coach and see how every individual, they were so different, but so committed to become a team. That was a special time.
You've got genuine world-class players, or at least potentially some of them world-class players in that squad. How do you manage such egos, characters, personalities, and talent like that all together?
I think that's we were talking about generations and how much is changed. I think life and culture has changed a lot in the last 10, 15 years. I remember before it was a culture of there is no I in team. That was the culture. You come in, you're part of a group, and you have to adapt. You have to be part of a group. I think we've gone away from that. You cannot manage people in that way. Now is almost we've gone from no I in team in we have to unite the eyes to create a team. Everything starts on the eye, and I think I enjoyed the exceptional talent that this generation had in Belgium, because everyone was unique. And from a technical and tactical point of view, you need to mix and find the aspects to create a balanced team. But everything else, it was creating a high-performance environment. From the individuals, how can we create the team? And there are three aspects, and they're very simple. You can use them with business groups, with sports groups, with education groups. And the 3 points that you constantly analyze and you follow is the first one, which is a common sense one, is clarity. Every individual, when he walks into a dressing room, should know what my role is on the pitch and off the pitch, and what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And that's such a common sense aspect, but so difficult to achieve. The second one is analyzing the eye. You need to know why every player is there. Some players want to make their family proud. Others, they've got an objective. Others, you need to know why they're there. And then to canalize that objective through the success of the team. It's not that you're becoming a team. No, it's just I need to achieve my aim through the success of the team. That means when the team hits adversity, I'm ready to respond well to achieve what we need to achieve. And that's constantly changes, because sometimes there are emotional aspects. In international football, you don't work every day, it's 5 times a year, so the individual condition over a year changes a lot, and that's something that you need to be on top. And the last one, which is constant improvement. You need to measure performance on the pitch and off the pitch, and the group needs to work that constantly becomes better. If you're doing a meeting in 6 minutes, next time try to do it in 5 minutes, 30 seconds. On the pitch, if you can get 10 times 1v1 situations with a success rate of 7, you try to get an 8. It's measuring aspects that the player constantly can improve, and then consequently the team will become better. So it's always creating an environment of high performance.
You talk about creating that environment of high performance, but like when you've got, what I'd like to know and understand more is like, how do you create that when you've got these big characters and these big superstars, big entities in their own right? A Hazard, he wants something for him to be successful, because I feel that their egos, they all want to be the star at the beginning.
No,
maybe De Bruyne wants something that will suit him. Lukaku says this style is going to suit me. So how do you create that culture environment where they're all happy?
No, I think that you need to have the common ground, isn't it? When you get people in the same room, is what you got in common. And you're talking about these individuals. What we all share in common is we love football. Is the passion of football. Is wanting to win something together. That is the common ground. And is that when it goes back to clarity? Each player shouldn't have the decision of what we're doing today in order to suit me. No, it's what the team needs to do. You need to have a clear plan.
Set by you.
Yes, and that needs to be a very clear line. And then everyone needs to be asked to do something that they enjoy doing. That's where it becomes a little bit, as a manager, I cannot ask a player to do something that they're not good at. And that's where you can become a little bit of a conflict, because then players wouldn't agree. But if you ask your players to do what they're good at, then it's a question of being very clear and measure the performance. So exactly what you said, if I'm as a player, I feel I should be coming down, then is when you need to measure things very, very clear, and then you need to act accordingly. But I think it's setting that structure of clarity, and then everyone is there for the.
Were there any players that may have happened with where, like, you're setting down the boundaries, or these are the guidelines, and this is the tactical kind of approach, etc., and you have that kind of resistance, or you know what, actually, I don't agree, boss, because I've seen that in my change rooms. But it's good conversations you have. It's not. It can be conflict a little bit, but at the end of it, you get to a happy place.
I think you need to create that environment that the players can speak up. And I don't believe in environments. When you create environments, it's through aspiration. We are there to achieve something. So you should be able to speak up and why we're doing that in that way. And it should be everything in the clear, very rarely happens, because what it is clear aspects that you can do as a player in order to get a very clear strategy for the team. But that's the environment that you need to create, that people can speak up. And at the end, the more information as a manager, you need to take so many decisions. You need to get as much information as you can. But at the end, it needs to be just one voice in terms of setting the clear instructions of what we're going to do as a team. But I do feel that there are two aspects. One is related to the attitude. We can speak about tactical concept and technical concept, and what about if we do this? This is all healthy. I think everything goes down to attitude. We measure in the national team more than a club level. You measure three aspects in a player. Every time they come in is the level of quality, the talent, the individualism that every player brings, the experience, because there's not the same having 50 caps or 100 caps than having no caps. Sometimes it's positive not having that you never failed and you haven't been damaged in a football pitch. But those two aspects are clear and they add. But then it's the attitude. And the attitude multiplies for the role that they can do in the team. That attitude could be that they don't want to be on the bench, or they are not happy of finishing the game instead of starting it, or they cannot commit to accept what the rules are. There are aspects I always ask, what is acceptable and what is not? And certain groups said, well, we cannot be late. Never. That's unacceptable. Well, if one player is late, it cannot be part of it. Some things they need to be very, very strict, and they're clear-cut.
Is that what you're like? You've got that, like there's certain rules, and if you don't abide, see you later.
Yeah, well, I think that needs to be to create an environment that everyone has a voice and everyone can feel relaxed.
You could never play for him.
There needs to be very strict.
You're late and stuff like that. You'd be gone.
I'm sure you would. You'd be clear on the rules.
Yeah, very clear on the rules.
No, but I think that's very important. Sometimes they ask, are the rules important for you? Well, the rules are the rules that they are set by the players. It would be very wrong for a manager, one pair of eyes, to set the set of rules for everybody. What is important is that everybody sets the rules in order to achieve to the maximum, but then it's down to the manager to make sure that those rules are
carried through.
Exactly. And that's what creates that environment. Is essential. International football, it happens more than at club level, because in international football it's only 3 days, one game. Everything gets multiplied in terms of every aspect, every moment that you have together. And I think the individual aspects need to be canalized by the behavior in the team. And then in those aspects, if someone breaks the rules because there's a lack of attitude, you cannot be part of the group.
You spoke about the environment, very key, obviously, and everything that you're talking about here sounds like a lot of work, meaning that you need a team that's competent to deliver what it is that you're putting out there. You have Thierry Henry that comes on board as your coach. Now, how does that come about? Because at the time, he's still in the beginning of his journey. How did that go about? What's the meeting like, and what did he bring to your team as a coach?
Yeah, and why did you bring Thierry?
Yes, well, obviously we've been working for 7 years in the Premier League, so you get a very clear methodology and a way of working. I had my assistant, my head of performance, analyst, recruitment, a group that we worked for a long time, and all of us, we were sharing the same passion, the determination, and the commitment to go into international football. But nobody won the World Cup in that group. Nobody knew what it takes to win the World Cup.
That's why I didn't get the call.
And that's what it takes. Is a moment that Thierry Henry, obviously, you always want to look someone that is probably linked with the national team. So Belgium at that time, when you start working with it, you realize that it's quite fragmented. The Flemish part, they follow more in their youth the Dutch players. That's where the stimulation comes from. The Gullit, the Cruyff, all the.
Which ones were they in the squad? Which ones are names?
Flemish, you got Vertonghen, Alderweireld, De Bruyne. Players that they come from the north of the part. And then you had the French. And the French is more Eden Hazard. You got more the French influence. So this is where you realize that you haven't got a Belgium iconic figure, that it could be the one that he sets a little bit the tone of I always was quite worried about if a player is not enjoying the role in a World Cup, who could sit down and say, look, this is normal, or this is how you can deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's where he came, that Thierry Henry was a perfect fit. It was a perfect fit in theory. Then I sat down with him, and then I was super convinced, because Thierry lives football. His passion is incredible. He's such a deep thinker. And then someone that he won the Euros, they won the World Cup, that he had a really real journey of having to work for everything, even at international level. He had to go back to the under-21s once he played with the first team. Aspects that they were essential to be in a dressing room and being able to sit down. And it was an incredible decision, because the moment that we connected straight away, and it was a joy. And during the World Cup of 2018, his influence was very important, significant, because he was the know-how of what it takes to win a World Cup or to win a major tournament at international level.
So what I hear what you're saying, where he's definitely someone that people can look to. I've seen the clips where he's taking free kicks and he's doing it better than some of the current players, which is always a joy to watch. But what kind of freedom do you give him? So, for example, we know you're the boss. What you say goes. But what kind of role did he really take there?
Is he helping Lukaku, or is he talking about different elements of the game individually and stuff as well?
we were obviously, we had aspects. I believe in the future, the football methodology will go very individual. I'm not saying position related, I'm going individual. It's not the same a player that is a sprinter. Normally now the recovery times are 2 days after a game. Some players, they need 1 day recovery. So if you analyze it, everything goes very individual. So in international football, we did a lot of work as a block, and then we would do a lot in individual aspects. So Thierry would take always the strikers, and he would work specific on the players that they get into those specific drills in front of goal, from wide areas, from central areas. He's got that detail of the starting positions of a forward player. So he would focus more in that aspect, then he would work more forward dead ball situations. And then it's just the overall, away from the training pitch, is that day to day. Being able to give that little bit of that word that it would trigger into a player while you are with the pressure of having to play for your national team and the demands that brings. So he was more on the attacking players and more specifics on those profiles of players in different situations. And as you said, sometimes you forget what a player he was in his time, because he could do some demonstrations and then you get a realization of the player that he was.
You know what, we've talked in great detail there, and thanks for that, but I've just got to just draw it back and just like, obviously you work with some huge names there, and I'd love to just go through a couple of them. Just what makes these guys so special? Like Eden Hazard, when you go into that squad, he must have been one of the players that you was thinking, given your relationship with the Premier League, like thinking, wow, this is one of the ones I can't wait to work with.
Yeah, totally. I think that was. I remember Eden Hazard, the first game that he arrived with Chelsea was against Wigan Athletic, and you get those moments, you get those moments that you got flashes back, and we played against Spurs, and you had Toby Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen, and you had Chelsea, you had Thibaut Courtois, you had Roberto Lukaku, you got all these players, and then Eden Hazard was one. It's the opening game of the season, so we saw Eden a lot for his club at Lille, and he was playing left side of left wing, right-footed left winger. So all our work was there. On the match day starts, plays on the right. So we think, if he plays on the right, a foreign player coming to the Premier League, the impact can be that good. So we're okay. 10 minutes into the game, we're 2-0 down. He scored the first one, and he got the penalty for the second one. There are those moments that you feel that they are special. And it was his. We always try to analyze how does he decide to take the 1v1. Eden was the 1v1. Something that we would pay to watch is that 1v1 situation.
I don't think he could tell you how he does it.
No, he would tell you that he waits, and something will tell him in which way he should attack. So it could be the position of the last footstep of the defender. It could be the movement of a teammate. It could be the space that he opened between two players. When you analyze players in the 1v1s, normally there is a strong
favoured side.
Yes,
That's a carbon copy of what he said. He had an interview with Thierry, and they were on the pitch, and literally he said that. And just watching the two of them, I just thought, this is insane, man.
You get many players that they tell you, no, I'm trying to get the defender here, and then from here I will. And Eden will always have the same. He said, I don't know. It depends. So,
play what I see, whatever comes to me.
And that rubbed off. Obviously, he was our captain, and he had this calmness about him. A caring person, someone that this individualist that you see on the pitch was completely the opposite in the dressing room. Caring person who always wanted to know that everyone was fine. Super calm. It didn't matter if it's the semi-final in a World Cup or it was just a friendly, always same attitude. And someone that you could give him the ball any moment. I will always remember, I think, the game against Brazil in the World Cup 2018. That's Eden Hazard at his best. But it will be that. Football family, mom and dad played in football. 4 brothers all played football. And they just love playing football. And he will play the game in that aspect in terms of being with the family and playing football and having fun.
Did you or did he get the best out of him? Do you think? Do you think there was more that he could have done still, even though he had a great career and he was a phenomenal player, so difficult to play against? But do you think there was still a little bit more? And if there was, why was that?
No, I've never been a person of trying to analyze what it didn't happen. I think he won the league in France. He came to Chelsea, won the league in different projects with Chelsea. He achieved his dream move to go to Real Madrid. He was, if not the best player, because we didn't win the World Cup, one of the most significant players in a World Cup. I think what he achieved was incredible. Then obviously you can measure the game and the performances in many ways, winning titles or not. For me, it was a leader. It was someone that you could build a dressing room around, and he had an incredible set of memories. I think a player and you can tell us, Rio, when you finish your career, what you keep is your memories, and you look back and
he'll have too many
incredible memories. Yeah, and one of them doesn't need to be on the pitch. I remember his presentation in the Bernabeu. When he arrived at the Bernabeu, was live in the Belgium national channel, and the way he arrived in that football club, that was an incredible achievement as a footballer. I think there are many moments that he will treasure. And I think he's one of the most significant footballers of the history of Belgian football, which is something
I have to
important.
ask. He obviously he's recently done an interview with John Obi Mikel, and he's very honest about how he used to train. You know, he used to say, he's actually said in the interview at one point, he said they'll say, "Come on, Eden, just give us a little bit more." He'll go, Okay, I'll try for a few days. But then after a few days, he goes, "Oh, no, it's just too much. Now, obviously, we know that he's a great player. What was he like at training? And he's spoken about it honestly, so I think it's okay for you to
I think you need to separate when you talk about training. I think training with a national team and training at club level must be different. I cannot... sometimes I read stories and for me, it wasn't the case. Obviously, national team... You got 3 days to train. One is a match day -1. There is not a lot that you...
the intensity is lower.
It is lower and it's more... It needs to be game related. Everything is new relationships. You almost need to... You're almost aware of what you're doing because it's brand new and you need to be prepared for a game. For me, I always... remember that there is this type of players that training gets on the way of the games. And then there's other players that they need training to perform well. Eden was a player that clearly they didn't need the training to perform.
I needed to train.
Really?
If I didn't train, I didn't feel like I could go into a match.
Not prepared.
You had to train.
Yeah,
yes.
I had to train.
Yeah. And that's different positions in the pitch and different roles. But no, I cannot tell you a story to say, look, he wasn't training. No, he was always there, present. Obviously, he's someone that enjoyed the games.
He was captain as well, so he has to lead by example.
Yeah, but it's also Eden Hazard.
Yeah, I know.
You know, he's a generational player. So
what about Kevin de Bruyne? Another one, huge talent.
Yeah.
Different.
I think he's transformed. We were talking before Kevin de Bruyne appeared. I think the playmaker was a figure that he slowed the tempo down and he could execute that pass. I think Kevin transformed that. He was the one that, as a playmaker, accelerated the tempo of the game. I've never seen players that they could do that. He's someone that he appears in the game, very intelligent in usage of the space. He never plays in a fit position. He can appreciate the space and what's needed. And then the level of execution is the quality and the tempo that he provides to the team. It's quite unique. He's a playmaker that off the ball can affect the play, and he gets into that assist quality that I don't think we've seen in the Premier League. The numbers speak for itself, but a very, very specific position.
Best creator in the Premier League, you think, yeah?
As an assist player, obviously, it was a lot of, during our time in Belgium, it was always that could he beat the record of Thierry Henry of 20 assists in a season, and then he did that, and consistently every year he reaches anything between around 20 assists. It's one of those that probably when you were doing something in training, you wouldn't want to work defensive work with him in the opposite team because he could break it in one piece of a season. But yeah, I think it's a unique playmaker. I think he's a modern time playmaker.
Lukaku, he's a problem to play against. I remember we spoke, didn't we? Remember I was asking you about him when we worked together on TV, and I was saying, like, is he top? And I remember him saying, listen, you've played the right system to suit Romelu Lukaku. He scores goals. He's top.
And he's always looked,
he's always
Belgium.
Scored.
Yeah,
that's when we've seen the best of him consistently.
He's always scored.
I think is the perfect player doesn't exist. It doesn't exist a player that is good in the air, that he can tackle with the right, tackle with the left, he can use the right, he can use the left. It doesn't. You need to fit what the player is. For me, Romelu Lukaku, when you look at his numbers as a goal scorer, he's one of the best goal scorer. I've seen him while I was a coach at Everton. I worked with him. He was 19 years old and he grew. It didn't matter. It didn't matter in what position. If you put him in the right position, he will always score goals. Then with the national team, you follow, as we follow all the players, and then he was asked to do things at times that hold the player up, or having to be in very little numbers in the final third. There are aspects that don't help a player, a specific player. When you analyze Romelu Lukaku as a goal scorer, he had this incredible capacity with the left foot in the box and using the power and the strength. You need to remember with Romelu that at the age of 16, 17, he was playing right wing for Belgium. So not many people know that it is a comfortable profile for him to go into the right-hand side and come into his left foot. Yeah. And we use that in some of the games, and that comes from his period of 16, 17 years old that he was playing in that position. But for me, in terms of goal-scoring ability, one of the best in the game.
Have you been able to consolidate him? Because he's obviously a player that's gone through a lot of highs and lows, and sometimes obviously he will have the times where, you know, like it won't go right for him, maybe at club level. How do you deal with him as an international manager where you pull him aside?
I think it was very easy. He was really committed to the national team, and he wanted to achieve. Slowly, he became one of the captains, and always took a lot of care about the national team, whatever was happening at club level. But the thing is, Romelu is that he's always available. He's always there. He doesn't get injured. He doesn't miss games.
Bravery.
And he's got that capacity of getting through things. So, no, for me, it was a question always to see him as a goal scorer and using him in the best possible way.
It goes back to the point you made earlier, wasn't it? I think you seem like you live by that. Don't always concentrate on what they're not good at or their weakest attributes. Concentrate on what they're good at, and you get the best out of the players. I do feel that if we look at a player 9 years old, you need to work 9 till 14. It will be improving everything. It's almost concentrating on the weaknesses. How can you give the best possible
platform to become better. And then at 14 to 18 is a period to, can we identify what's the outstanding attribute? After 18, 19, the attribute that he gets into the first team, I don't believe you need to hide the weaknesses. I don't believe you can improve the weaknesses anymore. And if you need to hide the weaknesses in a way that you need, if I'm slow, I'm not going to go to a race with someone that is quick. If I'm, and use my outstanding quality, whatever it is. The outstanding quality can be physical, can be technical, can be tactical, could be psychological. I could be a great leader. I could get my team really tense for the big moments that they are needed to win a football game. Whatever it is, that's what you have to use. Sometimes, my own experience at 95, when I arrived as a technical player from the Spanish game, I came to the British game, and if you ask me to go into a tackle, I'm going to lose the ball. But there were managers that they wanted me to do exactly the same. The 2 sixers would do the same. Both will go and win the ball, and both you'll play the ball. And I was thinking, well, maybe it makes more sense for him to win the ball, and I'll play it, because I can't win the ball.
Common sense.
It is. But I don't think we use that common sense that often. And then it's like... players really enjoy to improve the strengths. It's very difficult to improve a weakness when you're already...
From when I used to play, I know loads of players that when you say, like, let's do certain things that they weren't good at, it almost becomes an embarrassment. I don't want to be embarrassed and people to see that weakness, so they'd rather do the good stuff. It's crazy, isn't it?
And you're not going to use it.
It's human nature as well.
It is. I think it's part of the human being that he plays football. I think in the match day you got the footballer. In training is the human being that he plays football. But I always feel when we're talking about elite football and we're talking about the top end, the more that you can hide your weaknesses and promote your strengths, the bigger performance that you're going to have. It's clear. It's clear.
Finally, I think it's fair to ask, do you see any similarities with what they call the Belgium golden generation and the England golden generation? When you see it on TV or you read stuff, do you think there's a lot of similarities here?
And the Portuguese generation, that's almost like a golden generation.
I can speak more about the Portuguese because obviously I'm inside and I can compare it. The England generation, obviously, Rio knows better. You got exceptional individuals, and then you're very attached to the club that you represent, and it's how can you become now a different team, and this is a completely different situation. The similarities that we have in Portugal now with Belgium is both nations around 10 million. Small nations in terms of the number of players, and they creating these very gifted footballers. I just feel that in Belgium was a generation that it came out of a process that is difficult to control because the players went from dressing rooms to dressing rooms. If you look at the career of Kevin de Bruyne from Genk to move to Germany, go to Chelsea, then go to Wolfsburg, come back to Man City. There's a journey that is that mentality that they were stimulating each other, and they were growing away from each other, but they were growing for the same purpose, to become top footballers in world football, and they came together in a very uncontrolled way. In Portugal now, I'm seeing there is an under-19s league nationally, under-23s league nationally, the B teams, and then the first team. So all of a sudden you're talking about 4 levels of footballers from the age of 18 to 26. So it's 8 players per the same position. So number 9, striker. You got 8 players, 4 clubs. So you create a group of around 50 players every year of a real chance to become an international. This is more of a structure. Then you look at the human traits, very similar. Belgium, straight away they got 3 official languages. So when they are in school, they speak different languages. They can adapt. When they go to a new dressing room, they just want to be part of a team. How can I help the team? Portuguese, culturally, they speak 3 languages as well. They all speak Portuguese, Spanish, English. Open, they're ready to go away 500 years ago in the culture is to navigate and to discover places. It's got that mentality of traveling well. And then the only difference I would say is that probably in Portugal you got more the structure, that every year there is a certain number of players with the capacity of becoming important in international scene. I think Belgium will be always difficult to match the level of this golden generation.
Guys, please make sure you keep on watching this fantastic interview with Mr. Roberto Martinez.